What's going on, guys? Jim the Game Guru. Today's video, Raiders of the North Sea by Renegade Games. It's a game about being Vikings, recruiting Vikings, sending out your Vikings in plundering, raiding harbors, monasteries, fortresses, you name it. Raiders of the North Sea. Take a look at the box there. Beautiful looking game. And it's all about using workers and gaining victory points. You gain victory points, you make offerings, you plunder, you get resources, you use resources to then invade. And it's actually, the board looks very, very complicated when you look at it. It's like, oh my God, there's so many things on the board. But it's actually a very, very simple game to play. So I'm going to break it down. I'm going to show you the board, to show you the components, go through a two-player simulation game, and show you what it's like to play Raiders of the North Sea. If you guys are new to this channel, please subscribe. My passion is all about video games and board games. Absolutely love them. All right, let's dig into some gameplay with Raiders of the North Sea. So here you can see the board. And like I said earlier, it looks very daunting when you first look at the board because there's so many things on the board and you're like, oh my God, what's happening? So let's break this down. It's very simple. So on the left-hand side, what you have here is you have an armor track. And there's gonna be certain actions in this game where usually the armory is responsible, but there's certain actions in this game will actually allow you to move your marker up on the armor track. The armor track is basically a way to add points to the strength of your army. As you go up on the tracker, you will add strength to your army when you're going and you're performing raids. So you have the armor track, you have the Valkyrie track, which is up here. This Valkyrie track, what it is whenever your crew members die in a raid, then you end up increasing this by X amount of people who have died. And then the higher you go, this is like taking your Vikings to Valhalla when they die. The higher this track goes, then the more points that you'll end up getting on your victory point tracker. Up here at the very top and all the way around, this board is very long, but all the way from the top all the way around is your victory point tracker. It does go to 49 points. But there are cards in the game that there's a certain card in the game. Let me go ahead and grab that really fast where I put those cards. So each player, and here are the 4 cards. Each player will end up getting one of these cards. These cards will end up having a victory point counter on the back. So as you can see, this card has a 50 on the back. So I'm assuming that this is basically when you go all the way around and you hit 50 and you're going back around again, you will flip, you'll have the card like this on your side first, right? And then later on, you'll end up flipping this around to be like this. And then you know you have 50 plus whatever is on the board. I'm not gonna go through a complete game in this video. I'm only gonna take it so far because the mechanics become repetitive after a while. So you have armor victory track, Valkyrie, the main victory point track, and then you have 2 die that come with the game. You're going to use these when you raid the outposts and the fortresses. Here you have the main town, and then here in the main town, you will place workers down in certain buildings in order to get the effect of that worker. So the armory will end up giving you either 1 or 2 more bonuses to your armor track. The treasury will over here is where you use to discard cards to then gain either silver or gold. The gatehouse is how you end up drawing 2 additional cards. The townhouse is where you can use abilities of your crew members in your hand. The mill is where you get provisions. The silversmith is where you get money. And the barracks is where you recruit people into your raiding party. And the longhouse is where you end up making offerings. And down here, this is where the offerings are. If you make any of these offerings, you will end up claiming one of these offering tiles. So then later on in the game, you will count up your offering titles, your tiles, and the victory points in your offering tiles. Like right here, this one, like you'll get 3 victory points if you end up offering one cattle and 1 stone. You do have a pile of other offering right here. So as people make offerings, they'll just draw another one to replace the one they pulled. And oh, hear this. Listen to this. Cling, 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 cling. Oh, yeah. This game actually comes with real metal coins, which is fantastic. You don't see that in a lot of board games. A lot of times they cut corners on the coins and they'll give you cardboard ones. Here you have these are provisions, because whenever you raid buildings, you have to use provisions to feed your crew members as you're going for raids. So there's a certain amount of provisions that you need. Now in the middle here, throughout the board, you'll see like there's all these resources, right? And these are what the plunder is. And what happens is each spot has a number in green, 4, 3, 4. They have a number in green of how much plunder goes in this spot. So when you start off the game, what you're going to do is you're going to put all the plunder in this bag, right? You're going to put it in this black bag that it comes in the game, right? And then you mix them up. And then you'll end up grabbing the plunder and filling it randomly in each one of these. And you'll grab the number that is required based off of what is shown in the green spots. There's three different types of workers. There's each player gets one of these from the start. There's the black worker, okay, and then there's a gray worker, like a kind of a dark grayish worker, and then there's a white worker. And what happens is that every time you raid a spot, there's a requirement. There's either a requirement for a black or a gray worker to be put on there to raid a spot, or there's a requirement for only a gray, and some of these only have grays. And then there's a requirement as you get to the top up here of white. So and as you go up here, you'll see like this one is black and gray, this one has a gray requirement, this one has a gray or a white. Sorry, this black and gray here is actually an or. It's black or gray. Then there's white requirement up there. These ones right here require gray. That one requires a gray or a white. Now, the thing to remember is that as you move up in this game and you raid further places, and you end up eventually getting the white worker does not mean that it can go anywhere. That is a very, very important thing to remember. Each spot on the board that you can raid has a requirement. It's either like this one with a black or a gray. So later on, if you end up getting a white worker, you cannot put a white worker where a black or a gray is, or where a gray only is. You actually have to have that worker of that type to put down in that spot in order to raid one of the spots. And it's very important to remember, because later on in the game, I've been in some games that later on you'll end up having a black or in a white in the town, but all the grays were gone. And if that happens and all the grays are gone, if you don't have a gray worker, then you can't. There's certain places you won't be able to raid anymore. And later on, what's happening, you're going to see as we go through this gameplay on how you get the workers and how you get new workers and how you lose some workers later on. Each player will end up getting 3 cards. Well, they're actually dealt 5 cards, and they choose 2 in the very beginning to throw away and keep the 3 that they want. So I've already got, for player 1 here, I've already got 3 cards, and here are the people you can kind of recruit. And these cards are very, very simple. And what they have is every card of the crew member has 2 different types of abilities. Either you can use this card when you go to a town hall to use its ability and then discard this card entirely, or you can go to a barracks and then recruit one of these people into your raiding party. And then once they're in your raiding party, this part right here with the plus on the card will be the ability that that card will give you when they're part of your party. So these people cards, I guess you call it crew cards, whatever, they only have two abilities. One is when you go to the town hall and you use them and you discard them, or when you make them part of your crew. And that's all you have to think about. And sometimes some of these will have like special abilities. There are going to be some crew members that'll have special abilities, like when they die, they can return back to your hand or something, or when they die, something else happens. So you have to look at the abilities in the plus, which means in the crew in the party, and then the abilities for the town hall, and you have to look at the other passive abilities that trigger whenever they die or something else happens. Okay. So each player gets 3 of these cards. Now, awesome artwork in the back. I really like that. These cards are really funny though, because they're not like your standard cards, like the thicker. They seem like they're the regular height of regular cards, but they also seem like they're very, very, very skinny. I don't know if my mind is playing tricks on me, but lately I've been getting games that have a lot of weird card sizes. I feel like these cards are just a little on the skinny side, but they do feel good. And before I get started into the gameplay, I just want to show you guys the manual really fast. The manual is very, very simple manual. It's very colorful. It is like magazine quality. And it's super, super skinny manual because the game is actually not that complicated. And it goes over everything, the scoring, how to place tile, like how to place workers and everything. So in your turn, so let's go ahead and start with player 1. So the turns are very, very, very simple. What you do is you do 2 different things. One, you have 2 different types of things you can do on your turn. One is you can put a worker down and then use that ability of that building, right? Or, use that ability of that building, and at the end of your turn, you grab another worker from a different building that you haven't put. It's got to be a different building than the one you put your worker down on. And then when you pull that worker, you'll use the ability of that building as well. So every time you're in your town and you're using the buildings, you're putting a worker down, you use the building, and then you grab another worker from a different building, you're always going to get 2 abilities that fire off from the buildings in your town. So that's one thing you can do. One thing you can do is during your turn is you can use the buildings in your town. Or the second thing you can do is you can raid. So either use the abilities in your town or raid. Now, when you go for a raid, what's going to happen is each raid place location has a requirement. So like this one here, the harbor, has a requirement that it will give you 3. You need 3 provisions. And you need 2 crew members in order to raid this. This you need 3 crew members in your party plus 1 provision. This you need 2 provisions plus 2 crew members, 4 provisions plus 3 crew members, 3 positions, and so on. And as you go up, eventually up here on this one, that one has a requirement that you need 2 gold, this fortress up here, 2 gold, 3 provisions, and 5 in your party. These places here where you raid down here, they do not have a requirement for rolling the die, because when you can actually roll the die to increase your strength of your raiding party. Now the strength of your raiding party. Now where in the hell is that? It's right here on the very top of your crew member. So like this one has a 3, this one has a 2, and this is a 1. So if I had all of these in my raiding party, that would be a combined score of 6, right? 2, 3, and 1. That's the strength of my raiding party. Now, if I were to use these guys on a raid up on the very top up there, maybe like a monastery, for example. So if I were to raid this monastery up here, I would be able to roll 2 die to increase the power of my raiding party. This one, the outpost, you only roll 1. This monastery over here, 2. This outpost over here, you roll 1. The fortresses at the very top, you roll 2 die. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into it, okay? So I'm going to have player 1 go first. They've got these 3 dudes here, Marauder, Huntsman, and a Shield Maiden. I'm going to go ahead and place my worker, because you could either, like I said before, you either navigate the town, use 2 buildings in a town, or you raid. Those are the only 2 options you have during your turns, right? So, And if you choose to go to the town, you cannot do a raid after you go to your town. You can either navigate, you can either use the buildings in the town or raid. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna go to Silversmith. So what happens with Silversmith is if you put down a black worker, you get 3 money. Oh, so each player, by the way, starts off with 2 silver. So, but this player 1 now gets an additional 3. And okay, so they put down their worker there. And now to end their turn, they have to pick up another worker. But they cannot pick up the worker that they just put down. So I cannot pick that one up. I have to go somewhere else. So I'm going to go to the gatehouse. I'm going to pick up this worker from the gatehouse. That allows me to draw 2 more cards. And there you go. So now I drew a barbarian. And I also drew a marauder. So I've got a marauder and a barbarian from that to add. So now in my hand, I have 5 cards. These are not my crew members yet. These are cards in my hands that I could use. I can either use them for abilities or recruiting them in my raiding party. Okay? So let's put this down. That's the end of my turn. Player 2 goes. Player 2, okay, he's got a warlord and an armorer. And then a mercenary. Okay, so player 2 is going to go ahead and go to the gatehouse. They're going to go ahead and draw 2 cards. He's going to draw a forager and an archer. Okay. And now let's see what we're going to do here. So forager, archer, what's he going to do on his pickup? So he can't pick up that, right? Because that's where he put it down. So now what's going to happen is I think he's going to go ahead. I just want to show you the different abilities that you can get. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up from the town hall. And the town hall allows you to use an ability from a card. I'm going to use the armorer. I'm going to discard the armorer. So player 2 is discarding the armorer. And now that I've discarded the armorer, player 2 is going to move up 1 on the armor track. And there you go. He's got a +1 now for his armor. So whenever this player 2 ends up going in the raid, right now he's got, if you were to have these 2, or actually, God, if you were to hire these 3, he would have 7 + 3, 10, and then plus another 1 from the armor track. So he would have 11 strength in his raiding party. So he's done. Next person goes. Let's see what we got going on. Player 1 is now going to go ahead and go to the barracks. We're going to go to the barracks. And he's going to go ahead and hire somebody. Ooh, wow. He's going to go ahead and hire... he's not going to hire the barbarian yet because he's good at fortresses. So let's not do that. Let's go ahead and do the shield maiden. So the shield maiden costs 3 silver, right? So we're going to spend 3 silver. Put that over there. The shields maiden now is recruited for player 1. So now we're left with these 4, right, in our hand. So we have 1 crew member in our raiding party. So I went to the barracks, so I can't go there anymore. So then what's going to happen is I'm going to pick up from the silversmith and then just grab 3 more money. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Now the black worker is really, really powerful with the money on the silversmith. For some reason in this game, I guess it's just the way they did it to make the strategy a little more intense, is that anytime you get one of the gray or white workers and you put them here for the silversmith, you only get 2 silver. So you get 3 silver though with the black worker. So later on when you have like the black and whites, using the black to capitalize on the silversmith is really good. Okay, so player 2 goes. Now they're gonna go ahead. They have to place their worker somewhere. I'm gonna go over here to silversmith. So they need to get some money, and then they're gonna go ahead and wow, what are we gonna do? They're gonna go and pull. Remember, you start by putting a worker down, and then after that you pull a worker back. So they're gonna pull from the barracks to recruit. They're going to go ahead and recruit this mercenary because if this mercenary is killed while it's in your raid, you gain 1 VP. I like that. Okay, so they're going to go ahead and put it over here. They're going to spend 4 silver for that, which is kind of crazy. 4 silver. Awesome. So they're done. Okay, next player goes. I'm going to go ahead and put down the mill. And the mill will end up giving me 1 provision. Let's see, what else can we do here? What else does this person have? I'll go ahead and pull from the gatehouse, I guess. I think you can have only a maximum of 8 cards in your hand. So he pulls from the gatehouse. He's going to go ahead. He's got Huntsmen and Mercenaries again. Wow, his can is getting crazy. All right, so he's done. This next person goes, what do we got? He's only got 1 gold, 1 silver. I keep saying gold. I'm so used to having gold for money in a lot of these games. I'm going to go to the town hall here, I think, and try to use an ability. And I'm going to go ahead and discard the Warlord. And then I'm going to take 2 silver from my opponent. So that goes over here for 3. And what else am I going to do? And then I'm going to go ahead and pull from the mill. And I'm going to gain 1 provision. So we got 1 provision here. All right, so these done. And then now we go to player 1. And player 1 is going to, where's he going to put his stuff at? He's got 3 gold. I think we go here to barracks and do some more recruiting. I want to get to a point where I can have 3 people. I'm going to go ahead and recruit the Huntsman. The Huntsman only costs 1 silver. Put that down. And now I'm going to go ahead and pull from the silversmith because that will give me 3 yummy, yummy, yummy silver back. There we go. And you see, now I have 2. Player 1 has 2 in his crew. And I've got 5 in my hand and 2 in his crew. The next person goes. Player 2 is going to go to the mill. He's going to go ahead and get some provisions. What are we going to do now? And then he's going to pull from the town hall to then get rid of the forager, which ends up the ability is to gain 2 provisions, which is pretty sweet. So he'll gain 2 provisions. So now player 2 here has 4 provisions, which is a requirement when you're raiding. 4 of these bad boys. Okay. But he's only got 1 crew member, which is the mercenary, which is really, really bad. So he's gonna have to do some drawing here soon. So player 1 goes, which has God, man, he's got so many people. But he's got to put down his worker first. And here's where the strategy in this game comes: is you need to know when to put down, where to put down, and where to pull. Because when you pull, that worker you have on your pull at the very end of your turn is the worker you're going to use on the very next turn if you want to do a raid. So if you pull and you pull the wrong color worker that's in the town, what's going to happen is you may get screwed when you go to a raid and you're like, shoot, I pulled a black back, but I need a dark gray, or I needed a white to raid one of the other ones. And if you make that mistake in this game, it can be costly because it will take you 2 turns to cycle your worker in the town, plus then the next turn after that is going to be when you have to raid. Okay, so what is going to happen here? I don't know what player 1's going to do here. Player 1's probably going to go to silversmith again. He's going to get 3 more. Yummy silver. He's got a lot of coin over here. And he's going to pull from the barracks, and he's going to go ahead and hunt. Or, hunt, what am I saying? He's going to go ahead and recruit somebody. So let's go with the Marauder. We're going to spend 2. Put the Marauder in our group. So now he's got these 4 cards, right, in his hand, but he's got these 3 in his crew. So player 1 now is going to focus on getting provisions because he's light on provisions. He's got like hardly any provisions right now. But that's okay. So he's got those 3. He will get the provisions. And then player 2 now is going to go. Player 2 has some silver, but he needs... I'm going to go to the gatehouse with player 2 because the gatehouse allows you to draw 2 cards. Draw 2 cards. And now I have these 3. But I need to go to the barracks to recruit, but player 2 can't do that. So he's going to pull because there wasn't a worker there. Because remember, you can only put down when there's an empty space, and you can always... And at the end of your turn, when you pull, you have to pull where a worker is at. You can't... These empty spots now on the pull are pointless. So I'm going to pull from the silversmith just to gain some more money on my next turn that I can recruit. Now, player 1 goes. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do a raid. So up here, you only need 1 provision and 3 to raid this harbor. So I'm going to spend the 1 provision. I'm going to send my 3 dudes in my raiding party to raid over here. So I'm going to spend the 1 provision. 1 provision goes away. What am I going to do here? I'm going to go for this one right here. So what happens is I gain 1 on the victory point tracker. So gain 1 point. So green is player 1. Green's 1 point on the victory point tracker. And then I'm going to get all of this yummy plunder. The Valkyrie, this right here, this black skull thing is the Valkyrie. That means nothing as far as in your area, in your treasure, your plunder. So I'm going to put that the Valkyrie back. But okay, so I also got a gold and a cattle. Okay, so player 1 gets a gold and a cattle. But the Valkyrie that I picked up from this plunder means that one of my crew members died. So what am I going to choose for a death? I think I'm going to kill off the huntsman. And then now what happens is green, player 1, gets to move up 1 on the Valkyrie point tracker. See that? Moves 1 up on that because they had a crew member die in the raid. They went to Valhalla. Okay, so player 2 goes now. Player 2 is what are they going to do? They're definitely going to go to the barracks. And you noticed on my last turn with player 1 that they didn't do anything on the town because they were going for a raid. Okay, so player 2 goes to the barracks because we need to recruit some people. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to recruit the huntsman. Recruit the huntsman because he's cheap. And it's only 1. And what else are we going to do now? Oh, and I forgot to say that on the raid from player 1, what happens is his worker, because he had to put the black worker there, right, to raid on that spot. And what I forgot to show you is that when he raided that spot, he was supposed to take this dark gray worker. And now he's got a dark gray worker there. See that? Okay, so I recruited the huntsman. So now I'm going to go over here. So what else player 2 got? Player 2 has a bunch of cards. I don't need any more cards. I think player 2 is going to... What are we going to go? Because we went there. Let's go to the mill. We'll pull back from the mill. We'll grab another provision. So player 2 is high on provisions. Okay, player 1... and now is going to go. And what are they going to do? Now they have a gray worker, right, from that last raid. It has no provisions. So now I'm going to put this gray worker right here because it says if you put a gray worker down in the mill, you get 2 provisions. So now player 1 is going to start working up some provisions really good. Now the danger with putting down like a dark gray worker somewhere is that, well, player 2 can actually get that dark gray worker. Even though player 2 didn't do the raid to get that gray worker, it's available now in the town. So this is available for grabs by anyone. And that's what makes this game really, really interesting, is even if one person's progressing, other people can actually end up getting those workers too. I'm going to go ahead and pull from the gatehouse, which gives player 1 the black worker again. He's going to draw 2 cards. Oh, he's going to draw 2 cards. So here. Now, player 2 goes, they got 2 crew members, and they've got a lot of provisions. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my black worker for player 2 right here, and I'm going to raid one of these. I'm probably going to raid this one here, which gives me 3 cattle. So he gets 3 cattle. There's no Valkyrie here, so I don't lose one of the crew members in my crew. I do lose 3 provisions, so that is gone. And I now end up getting a dark gray worker for the black gray, or for the black worker that I put down for the raid. So he's done. Now player 1 goes, and let's see. Player 1's gonna say, okay, well now I got this 2 provisions, that 3 money. Do I want to go for a raid? But remember, player 1 now only has the black for a raid. And yeah, screw it. I'll probably do that. I'm going to... Actually, you know what? These 2 are in my party. I can't remember. See, that's where I messed up. I picked up my cards and mixed them with my two that I drew. I think these two were in my raid party before because one of them died. The huntsman died when he did his initial raid. So I know I've got two here, so I can't raid that one. I need three. So I'm gonna go ahead and put one down in, where am I gonna go? Let's go to the armory for player one. I'm gonna spend 2 gold. Put 2 gold or 2 silver. Keep saying gold. 2 silver to increase my armor by 1. And then I'm gonna pick up. And when I pick up, I'm gonna go from the barracks to recruit either the brawler or the jeweler. Okay, so what do I want? I am going to probably recruit the jeweler. Let's stick the jeweler in there. There we go. So player 2 goes now. They have 2 provisions, 2 in their the raiding party, and he's got a crap ton of dudes here in his hand. What are we gonna do here? He's got a gray, and the gray is gonna go somewhere. Where's he gonna put this? I might just put the gray right here and recruit somebody, because I do have quite a bit of silver here. I'm gonna go ahead and recruit a marauder, put them in my party, and that's 2 silver. And this is pretty much how the game is played. What happens is you take the cards from your hand, the crew members from your hand, you put them in a raiding party. So like player 2 now has a raiding party of 3. And then as long as you have the right worker, so let me go ahead and pull now because I put that worker down. I'm going to pull from here to get another gray worker back and then put 2 provisions. And as long as you have like your provisions, right, required for raiding, and you just keep track of your plunder as the plunder that you get from each of the raid locations. And then just keep track of the people that are in your crew. So you use this town to gain provisions and to gain money, and then use the barracks to recruit people in your raiding party, and then use the gatehouse to draw. And then eventually you'll have the requirements to go up and raid each one of these locations. And then when you do that, you will get the rewards. And then you grab the rewards that are from there, as long as you satisfy the requirement of the worker that you need to put there in order to do the raid, because you need workers for the buildings and you need workers to put on these spots up here in order to raid. And once you raid, you grab the plunder from there. And sometimes the plunder has these dark skulls that are the Valkyrie skulls that kill off your crew members in your hand. And when you lose the crew members in your raiding party and your Valkyrie track goes up, you need to then, on your next turn, that's how the game forces you to have to recruit again. Because as people die off from you raiding up here, you're eventually going to have to go back into your hand and recruit people back into your raiding party. And then once you have enough provisions and you have enough people in your raiding party, then you can go ahead and raid again, as long as you have the right worker you can put down to do that. And that's all it is to this game. And then this is the offering. And I know I didn't do anything with the offering, but if I were to put down like a worker on one of the on the longhouse, so you'd either do a cattle for 2 provisions, or you do one of these. And then in here, if like on this one, if I were to give a gold and a stone, it would give me this tile that later on in the game, at the very end of the game, I would use the victory points on this title to increase my victory point track marker. And at the very end of the game, so what signals the very end of the game? The very end of the game is either 3 different things. Either all these Valkyrie symbols, these dark skulls on the board, are gone. Every single one's gone. Then the end of game triggers where every single player gets 1 more turn, including the current player that triggered it. Or there's only 1 raid spot available up there in the fortresses. If there's only 1 of them available, like they're all nuked, they've all been taken, and there's only 1 available, that triggers end of game. Every player gets another turn. And then the other thing is the offerings. If all these offerings are gone, so as people start pulling these offerings and they get replaced by other offerings here. And then as they keep taking these offerings, and then this stack right here gets depleted and all of these are gone right here, then what happens is that will trigger end of game scenario, which then it's every player gets one more turn, and then that's it. And then at the very end of the game, you take the victory points from your armor track, and the victory points from your Valkyrie track. You add them to your point tracker. You add any victory points from your offering tiles that you get. And as you go throughout the game and you're raiding certain places, sometimes you'll get more victory on certain places. Like this outpost here, if you have a 10 raiding party, strength of 10 or higher, you can get 2. If you have 16, you get 4 victory points. But these here, when you roll the dice, when you get up there, either the die for an outpost or 2 dice for the fortress, if these extra die allow you to go over the threshold of these points up here, then you'll end up getting those extra victory points, and then those victory points will immediately get added to your victory point tracker. And at the very end, you count up gold. Every gold is worth 1 victory point. What else? I believe every stone every iron is worth 1 victory point. From your plunder. I think it's this. I've been saying stone, but this is probably just iron. And then I think money, if I'm not mistaken, is also worth... no, is it money? No, it's livestock. I'm sorry. I think it's every 2 livestock is worth 1 point. 1 victory point. So you'll count the plunder at the very end of the game, add the victory points for those, add the victory points for the armor track, add the victory points for the Valkyrie track, add the victories for your offerings, and then, of course, whatever points you have on your main victory track counter. And then the person with the most wins the game. And then that's how easy it is, you know? It's just use a town, recruit, raid, and then get your victory points. But that's it. This is how you play Raiders of the North Sea. Again, like I said before, guys, it does look way more intimidating when you see the board, but as you play and as you grab workers and you swap out workers and you raid certain areas, it really is an easy game to follow. That's it, guys. I'm Jim the Game Guru, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.